Tuesdays, 9 p.m. on TV 33. Join me, Barry Ross, on Mixing It Up. We'll feature informative community organizations that will offer solutions to Wayne County residents in reference to employment, safety, and security within neighborhoods, job training, education, and mentoring programs. Remember, Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Join me, Barry Ross, Mixing It Up on TV 33. Good evening, and welcome to another segment of Mixing It Up. And that's M-I-X-N, Mixing It Up. My name's Barry Ross, in case you don't know it by now, and you should know it by now. We're broadcasting to you live on TV 33 in most areas of Detroit. If you got Comcast, we're on Comcast 20. If you got a computer and you don't have either one of those, you want to switch back and forth, you go to TV 33, WHPR.com. All these shows are available 24/7 if you go to Barry Ross, B-A-R-R-Y, Ross.org. You go to videos, you can see every single one of my shows and all my work in the city that I've done. You can go to YouTube and you go to Ross BD, Boyd David 51, or my Facebook page, Mixing It Up with Barry Ross on demand. You go and you join, and you're going to hit videos. Every single one of my shows is up. Tomorrow night on itswebtv.com, I have another show at 8 p.m. only online, itswebtv.com. Great station online. And by the way, I'm encouraging you to call me. You're going to want to talk to my guest tonight because we're here to start something tonight. Look out. In continuance of my friend Minister Shabazz. These are 313-868 numbers, 0351-4336, 0342. Now tonight, I'm dedicating this show to Detroit public schools and the teachers that have been oppressed. I hear we have 400 teachers with tenure that they're not hiring back. And I have two great teachers, and I also am going to have a professor from the Malcolm X Academy, Paul Robeson, Malcolm X Academy. Victor Gibson's going to be here a little later. We've had a little change, but tonight I'm going to have Dorati Mawalba.
Forbes Malibwa, yes.
Malibwa, that's pretty good. And we also have Crystal. What's Crystal's last name? Crystal Coburn is going to be here in a few minutes. And I also have a very, very passionate, I met her at the school board meeting last week, passionate mom that's very upset with what's going on in our city and the school system and lack of schools and competition with the governor's schools. This is just really sick what's going on here. We have Tamika Jones is going to be here. And as you know, my show's an hour and a half long, and every month I have a new co-host. I only have tonight the revered Minister Victor Muhammad from the Fruit of Islam. He is the minister of the prison system in Michigan, and he's going to have a very interesting guest. So you stay tuned. About 5 after 10, Victor Muhammad's going to be on, and I'm very excited about it. Now, Minister Shabazz and I have founded Greater Detroit Restoration Project. We need volunteers. The new Marcus Garvey needs volunteers. The only way we're going to take back the city, for those that are afraid to come out of your house, for those who are afraid to come home from work, go walk the dog, take your baby to the park, and you're sick and tired of it, and you're sick and tired of complaining, you need to call us, because we got some plans what we're going to do. We're going to make a stance in Detroit. We need you to get involved with us. You call me, 313-355-2807. That's my hotline. And you can call Minister Shabazz at 313-646-3375. I'm doing something new tonight, y'all. I happen to have a couple cars for sale. Check this out. We have a 2008 Mercedes C300 black body, tan interior. It's only got 65,000 miles, 24 grand. 2008 black Mercedes C300, that's a four-door. It's clean, I saw it. We also have a 2007 Saab station wagon 9.3. It's got a gray body, gray interior, only 47,000 miles. It's $8,500. For information, you're going to call 313-455-9004. 313-455-9004. I'm going to have new cars every week that are available for sale. This is a new segment coming to my show. Okay? So you're going to want to get in touch with this man, 313-455-9004. We have a quick call. Good evening, you're on the air. Hello? Is anybody there? Yeah. Hi, you're on the air. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Happy Tuesday to you.
Okay. Theo?
Uh-huh.
How are you?
I'm doing wonderful.
Good. What can we do for you? You have an announcement?
Well, yes, I do. I
Oh.
wanted to share with you because our election is so urgently important. I wanted to let those who live on the east side of the city know that Hood Research is going to be there Wednesday and Friday. That's tomorrow at 1 in the afternoon and Friday at 6 in the afternoon at Mount Pleasant Church. And we're having a voters educational forum. And it's at 1 p.m. tomorrow, and it's at 6 p.m. on Friday.
Where is this again tomorrow, Theo?
Mount Pleasant Church is located at 21150 Maross Road.
And
Maross
it's
Road on the east side. If you take I-94 going east, you exit on Maross, make a right-hand turn. It's about 2.5 to 3 blocks.
Do you need to give your contact info for this, or are you good enough?
Yes, I will.
Go ahead.
Hood Research telephone number is 313-931-2700. You know,
And-
we got to defeat the proposal one that the state wants with the dictator. You know, we've been fighting against that. And out of proposal one, which happens to be Public Act 4, they are trying to take a Belle Isle. So we want to defeat proposal one of the state proposal. So tomorrow at 1 o'clock we will be discussing all of the proposals that are going to be on our ballot at Mount Pleasant Church.
That's great. And you know what? I think I have your phone number, but I want to be able to post this online on the official Detroit
Oh, okay.
Empowerment Movement.
Well, the number for Hood Research is 313-931-2700.
Okay. We appreciate you, and we certainly appreciate all that you have done and all that you continue to do,
Thank you so
and your
much.
show at the station. We appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
You got it.
Bye now.
I'm going to take another quick minute to state that our police chief, Godby, has been axed today. And I got to say that if you're not sick and tired of the level of violence that's going on in these streets, that's happening every minute of the day, and the nature of these acts, something from the Twilight Zone, that we can no longer tolerate this. The murders are not getting enough attention. The streets aren't getting attention. The police are getting cut. We cannot afford to have this going on in our city. I'm sick and tired of it, and you should be too. And you know what? I hate to say it. I'm embarrassed. I grew up in this city. My family has a business downtown for 95 years. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm embarrassed that we're living in these kind of times and that our babies, women, and children are not protected. And we all should be fed up to the point that we're ready to do something about it. You call me, 313-355-2807, because I want to organize. I want to shut things down in the city. I'm ready to drive to Lansing with 300 cars, get out of our cars, and walk away from our cars and stop the flow of traffic. I got a lot of things I want to do. We got to show this governor that we ain't taking anymore. We got to stop complaining about it. We got to get on our streets, and we got to start taking action. Not violent action. We got to start protecting our women and children on these streets. We don't have any street lights. We don't have any jobs. The schools are closing. It's sick. Okay. So without any further delay, I want to introduce again everybody to our two fine teachers. Dorati, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Barry, for having us.
You have been laid off, correct?
Correct.
Could you tell everybody what led up to the circumstances and what's going on with you now and the teachers? And we want to speak clearly into the mic and let everybody know how sad this is, what's going on.
Well, what led up to the circumstances of the teachers being laid off was an evaluation, correct, Crystal?
Yes, an evaluation.
And this evaluation, they said, would not be used to rehire the teachers with the mass layoff, but in fact it was. And the evaluation was also set up basically just on the principal and how the principal perceived that particular teacher, whether it was valid, whether you actually had paperwork to support everything that you stated. It did not matter. The whole point was how it was perceived by the person who was actually evaluating you, and it was cut and dry. Once you were cut from the system, regardless as to whether you were tenured, how many years you had in the systems, regardless as to whether you're highly qualified, such as Crystal and myself. You're highly qualified. And
I'm highly qualified. I have national certification in the area of literacy. I also have a ZA, which means that I can teach preschool. I have a DX, which means that I can teach mathematics grades 6 through 8. I have an EX, which means I can teach science 6 through 8. My current certification also means that I can teach K through 5 and 6 through 8 in all self-contained areas. So I'm highly qualified. I can teach in 48 out of the 50 states with this certification. And now DPS says to me that I'm minimally effective. My score was 68 out of 100%. And when I went to my principal to ask why my score was so low, she basically said to me she didn't understand what had happened. She cried when I went into her office, and she explained to me that she would be willing to do anything that she could in order to get my job back. And how in addition to that, she took me to the internet, and she asked me had I ever looked for a job before, and I explained to her no. Why? Because I've worked in this district for over 17 and a half years. In February of 2013, I'll have 18 years in the same district. So I asked her, why is it that I needed a new job? So at any rate, she took me to the computer, and we went to Rain Risa's consortium of schools, and she ran me off approximately 55 pages from the internet, and the jobs in the school included things from bus driver to custodian. And I never really looked at that until maybe yesterday, 2 or 3 days ago, and I realized even at that particular point, there were only approximately 3 teaching jobs there. In addition to that, because she knew that she had messed up, she basically offered me a job in another school that her friend ran. But obviously, she didn't know what was going on because of the score. I'm unable to receive a job at any Detroit public school.
Can I ask you something?
Yes,
While all this is going on, you were not fired yet. That's what you're saying, right?
that's
This
right.
unusual behavior is
Yes.
occurring. And then how soon after that did you find out that they were going to let you go?
Well, what happened was I came to my classroom, and beforehand, before a week before school was to start, because I had worked summer school, and I think we had maybe like 4 weeks off from summer school.
Right.
And after that, I said, well, let me go in, and I've been texting, also sending her emails, and she wasn't responding. So I basically went in and I said, well, I needed to know if I had a room change or a grade change, because I was thinking that, I needed to put up my new things in my classroom. And so that was on a Monday. And she said, well, Crystal, you don't have a grade change, but you have a room change. And I said, well, oh, okay. And so from there, I received a text message while I was sitting in my mother's driveway. I'll never forget this, at approximately 7:41. And when she spoke about it, so she told me to call her. And when I called her, she said that I need to inform you that according to Karen Ridgway is the academic chief of advising at this particular point. You no longer have a job. And when I asked her why, she responded because of this situation that had occurred. She said she was doing everything she could, but Karen Ridgway would not circumvent any decision that she had made in regard to these scores.
Well, that's a lot of it. Let me ask you this.
Yes.
You're in school and you get a text message?
Absolutely.
Not a phone
I was
call.
at home. I was sitting in my mother's driveway. Now, this was approximately August the 23rd, I believe. I was sitting in my mother's driveway at 7:41 p.m. And she sent me a text for her to call me, and I called her, and this is what she told me on the telephone. DPS hadn't told me anything yet.
Oh my God.
See, work was supposed to start. Was it? I can't remember exactly. Dorati, was it the 24th or the 27th? The next Monday.
The next Monday.
The
It was-
next Monday, I was supposed to report to
27th.
work.
What school was this at, if I may ask?
Ann Arbor Trail.
And you were there too?
I was actually supposed to be assigned to McKenzie, and I was told by the principal the day of the open house, you need to step into my office. I stepped into his office. He said, well, you know, we can't keep you because of the scores. What scores? Well, I can't pull them up right now. I really don't know what they are. I was just told that they were low. So I said, how can I find out? Could you email me? Sure. But when I got home, of course, the DPS email was shut down, and teachers could not go on site to see what their scores were.
What kind of tests were these?
It wasn't. It was just an evaluation that a principal is supposed to do periodically throughout the year, but usually it didn't happen until the last week before school was out.
But okay, so if you're overly efficient and you are, you know, go beyond the call of duty in your job and you do your job, how could they fail you on such a test?
And I asked myself that same question. And when I went back to, we refer to our evaluation, the teacher evaluation of this school year as PD 360. PD 360 was composed of approximately 42 different areas. And in order for you to actually do a comprehensive evaluation of a teacher in that particular point, there are so many different areas that you need to actually have to come to the classroom in order to observe, in order to get information from this, in order to make your final evaluation. But that just
What
didn't
is
happen.
not done. It's
But
not
this
done.
is a new regime.
Absolutely.
So these policies, whatever they are enacting, it doesn't matter anymore. You've lost your rights. Teachers have lost their rights,
Yes.
right?
Exactly.
You've lost your
Yes.
bargaining power.
Yes.
Yes.
No matter how absurd these
Yes.
are.
Yes.
What about, you're laid off,
I'm laid off
Yes.
also. Even if
What
you
about your
came
health
in,
insurance? Not to-
we don't have
We don't
health
have
No health
insurance.
insurance.
No health insurance.
No type of insurance.
No.
Weren't they supposed to extend that?
They extended that until September the
September
30th.
That was it.
And how many teachers are in this position right now, approximately? Are there several hundred in the city
Yes.
of
There
Detroit?
are hundreds.
Yes.
Hundreds.
Yes.
Yes.
Are you all meeting? Are they, I mean, other than DPS meetings, which I go to, what are all these teachers doing?
Actually, they're scrambling to hold their life together. There are some of them who they're tossed up because they have children, such as myself, and it's hard. You are either in a bind of where you have to relocate, move out of state, or you sit and you apply for welfare.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Now, are most of you that have been, is laid off even a fair term? Fired? Canned? I mean, however you want to look at it.
Right.
Were most of these schools that everybody was laid off from were EAA schools? EEA schools?
My
Or
school was an
conventional DPS?
EAA school now.
It is
Her
now.
school
No,
is
my
not.
school is a magnet school. Absolutely not. And that's what I wrote. The 13 people out of the 23 people that were in the staff for the 2011 and 2012 school year, 13 people, because of my principal's evaluation, lost their jobs.
their jobs.
And when I wrote to the powers that be, the Karen Ridgeways, the Roy Roberts, I stated, how is it that we could have passed the meet with flying colors? How is it that 13 people could have lost their jobs? It's simply unheard of. It
Have
doesn't.
you haven't had any.
I had one reply. My reply from Karen Ridgway basically said that my case was under investigation.
And she's under a new board, so to speak. Karen, where does she come from, and where is she now with this? What is her position?
Her position is the academic chief of advising. So I think the hierarchy kind of goes like this. It would be Roy Roberts, then it would be Karen
Karen
Ridgway,
Ridgway.
and then it would be all these other, what do you call those?
EDs, executive directors.
Exactly, the EDs.
Okay, so she came in under Roy Roberts, so she's new.
Well, no, in actuality, Karen Ridgway came from testing and evaluation.
Wow. What would you two like to say to everybody, to all these teachers, parents out there, in terms of what's going on and what we can do, and how do you take it away? Dorati,
We
you can
would like,
start.
first of all, to say to all of the parents out there, including myself, because I am a DPS parent as well, you have to fight for what's right. We have to stay together, and that's basically what we've been doing so far. There are a lot of us who are actually trying to communicate with each other. We're trying to stand strong, be firm. We are filing complaints against it with the union still. We are still filing complaints against the evaluation process and how it took place because it was unfair. There are lots of teachers who are also saying that they were never even evaluated. They're just laid off, finally. There is a lot that is going on with DPS, but we are begging for all of the teachers and the parents, the students also, because we have students that are also writing letters, to continue to write your letters, to continue to believe, to stay strong, to actually file those complaints in the correct order that they were talking about.
Where do they
And,
file these complaints?
Crystal and I, when we were writing our letters, tell them exactly how we were doing it, where we started.
When we started writing the letters, we basically included Roy Roberts,
Yes.
Karen Ridgway.
Ridgway.
Means nothing.
We included John Telford, who is the new interim
Superintendent.
We included the board members, Ida Short and Annie Carter, and then from there, I figured out who my old principal, who was assistant superintendent was, and I also wrote her too.
Okay, excuse me. There's a case in Congress coming up, correct? In January, when is it, in January or December? There's a case at Congress about this, what's going on in Michigan with the education, correct?
Are you
At the
talking?
last school board meeting, Helen Moore made an announcement that this is going in front of Congress. They had Obama sent 2 investigators from the National Board of Education here, right?
Yes.
That's where I think we
Yes.
met. Okay. They have taken this back to Obama, and this is apparently going in front of Congress.
Yes,
Right? Do we have a date for this?
but we haven't heard anything back from it yet.
Okay.
This is still in litigation. This is still pending.
Okay. I want to bring this. Let's bring this lady on. If you could just switch. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Crystal.
Thank you,
Crystal,
Crystal.
we're going to have a parent. Yeah, we're going to go to single. We're going to have a parent coming on. Tamika Jones is going to tell you how she feels about what's going on in our schools. Tamika, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You have how many children?
I have currently right now I have 1 child in DPS. 2 of my children attended Crystal School. I've seen the principal cry before. She cried the day that my child started 2nd grade, sat in the portal on the floor because Robert Bob didn't have chairs for the kids. So that was my daughter's introduction to DPS, no chairs. I watched Miss Ferguson cry as they brought in new computers with the first day of school, all type of activities going on, and the children didn't have chairs to sit on. And my frustration, I thought as a parent, I was my child's front line to, get the situation resolved.
Or backer?
I contacted and have an email, Anthony Adams, who was the school board president. I couldn't get a response from him.
At that time, the
Correct.
old, okay.
At
go.
that time. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Crystal can, Cheryl Mobley Woods was the assistant superintendent of Ann Arbor Trail at that time. Could not get any response from them. So I wind up calling in on a radio show and letting them know, because at that time kids were not being picked up, dropped off at the wrong spot. So there was a lot of issues going on. 2 years ago when Robert Bobs was doing his thing.
Was that at more than one school? Was that at a lot of schools?
It was a lot of schools. 2 years ago, it was a lot of schools when they introduced busing, that the buses, they outsourced it. And the bus drivers didn't know the city.
Oh my God.
So they were forgetting to pick kids up. They were off at the wrong streets, and when I dropped my child off, she sat on the floor. When my child came home and told me she sat on the floor all day, I thought it was like, it was just unbelievable for me until I went to investigate myself. So I called the radio station because I needed immediate remedy for what my child was enduring in DPS. My child at Cass Tech, now I have a child at Cass Tech. And like I said, the first year that the school was open, they had a girls basketball tournament where the roof leaked in the gym, so they had to cancel it.
At the new school?
At the new school.
I didn't know that.
Another parent stood up and said at Renaissance the roof leaks. And my position is, I was looking for a lawyer. I've made contact with the ACLU. I've contacted the U.S. Department of Education because my first immediate thing is to freeze all bond monies. We have all of these schools that have all of these issues, and no one has.
Excuse me, what's happened with the bond money?
Is we don't know because we don't have transparency in government. My thing is, for the first time in my life, I don't think I'm gonna support this millage. I can't, because to me that would be adding fuel to the fire. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I don't need the governor. I don't trust my mayor. I have no confidence
Or
in
the
city
police.
council God be, or the fire chief, who when the 3-year-old died, sat up there and said the system worked. So I have no confidence. So I feel like my back is up against the wall. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I hurt. And when I hurt, I want the state of Michigan to feel my pain.
So what are you asking parents out there that are watching you? What can they do
I'm
instead of
asking-
sitting at home and not doing something? What are you asking them?
This is what I want to first say to Wayne County residents. Our property values are so devalued to where we can no longer afford to fund our school system with a millage. The only way we're going to get additional funding for our children is we have to stop playing a lottery. We have to stop playing a lottery until they reallocate the monies and the money stay in the communities where the tickets are bought. The second thing I want to say to Wayne County residents, what your leaders are not telling you, when the Wayne County treasurer, and I have no problem with Raymond, I understand that he's trying to get us revenues. I'm not critiquing him. I have no harsh judgment against him. But when houses are sold for $500, you don't have a tax base. You don't have a property tax base. I heard Roy Roberts tell me that he's just trying to educate us, educate kids in a system that has broken for 100 years. I'm DPS. I was at DPS. I had Doris Taylor Walls at my counselor at Cass, Alfred Dean Wiley. One of the best classes I ever took was childhood development, taught by Mrs. Jones at Henry Ford High School. And what she told me, if you get married, do not live off your income. You use your income for trips, for investments, for luxury items, so that when you get pregnant and you have a baby, you can still pay your lights and you can still pay your gas. One of the best classes I ever had was typing at Henry Ford High School. I made money typing research papers in college. So when he says DPS been broken for 100 years, you all who graduated from Cody in 1962, he's calling you stupid too. I'm just asking Wayne County residents, we're gonna sink or we're gonna swim, but be it, don't call it race. We're gonna sink or swim together. It is economics. And Citizens United says money is speech. Okay, I don't have $1 million, but I have 700 other thousand Detroit residents, and if we pull our resources, we are all millionaires. I can't fight Snyder tit for tat because I don't have his money, but if we pull our resources, I'm tired of Detroit being a stepchild of the state of Michigan. I don't need you to tell me how much money we spend in the lottery, because when we stop playing it, you're going to tell me how much we spend in the lottery. It's disingenuous and a flat-out lie, because every lottery has a terminal ID. And when they call the state, they know where every terminal is located. For them to say they might not track it because they choose not to, but the informations are there. Robert Bob said something about I contacted the U.S. Department of Education, Arnie Duncan. I need someone to explain to me, after 11 years, how do you take a school system with a $93 million surplus, with a 300, we don't know what the number is, because every 2 to 3 years we get a different emergency financial manager who has promised us rosy pictures, and then the next one comes in and say, oh, it's worse than what they said. All type of theft going on. How do you lease a building to EEA for $1 and a school system that is financially strapped? I just need someone to explain it to me. I call it a conflict of interest. You're supposed to be building my school system, and you created a school district that competes directly with my school district. And then I have to listen to the radio commercials every day. Of being sick and tired.
That compete.
I'm not asking for my mayor because I don't trust him. I'm not asking for my city council because I don't trust them. I'm asking for some mamas. I'm asking for some fathers. I'm asking for some grandparents. If money is speech, every time you spend a dime or a dollar, you're talking to somebody. Are you talking to somebody in Oakland County who can't fix your streets? Yes, you do drive up Southfield, and when you get to 8 Mile North, it gets easy because you're taking your dollars out there and you're paying to fix their streets. If you go shopping in Washtenaw County, yes, it's lighted because you're taking your money out there to afford their lights. Exactly. I'm asking Wayne County, spend our money in our county. And when we use our togetherness aggregately, someone's going to speak. I don't need to talk to Snyder. I'm going to let my dollar talk for me. And all I do is need Detroiters in Wayne County, Pontiac and Flint. You all are in the same situation. Yeah. Boycott the lottery. If your pastor isn't telling you to boycott the lottery, you need to look at your pastor.
Tamika, excuse me. I want you to give him your contact information because we want to be able to give him somebody to contact to be able to get involved Just give him your contact information real quick, and we're going to close it out with Dorati, and we got a phone call, too, so we got to close the segment
Let
out.
me say I'm a parent. So if I get overwhelmed, I'm gonna get
It's
overwhelmed.
okay, just go.
But it's Tamika's House, all lowercase, TAMIKAS House, HOUSE at AOL.com.
And I have to applaud you. You are one bad sister, and I knew it having you are great.
Thank
and
you.
Can you close this out? And we still don't have enough time. I want to try to get you guys back. Just the closing comments for about a minute.
The only thing I would like to say to those of us who are still laid off from DPS is to continue to write your letters, continue to fight, continue to talk. Please don't give up. Please don't close your mouth. Please don't stop. Continue to tell your stories to move forward, and we'll have it happen. We need to get the teachers who are highly qualified,
Yes.
such as Crystal,
Yes.
myself, and my other colleagues that are out there. We need to get them back into the classrooms. Those teachers who care, those teachers who love, those teachers who are willing to take the boundary, the teachers who are willing to leave their house and tutor your students during the lunchtime, the teachers who are willing to do what it takes for a child to learn, those
That
teachers who care.
Yes.
So please continue to tell your stories, continue to talk, continue to be heard, because we cannot be quiet, Detroit. The time that we be quiet is the time that we give up. The time that we be quiet is the time that we will lose. Please continue to keep your stories alive, continue to let it be heard.
Can you
Thank
give any contact information? Do you want to give anything for them? You
Um,
guys need a website for this.
Actually,
Website.
what we do is we don't. We do not have a website right now.
Facebook
We're
page,
actually,
some kind of support where people can get involved.
well, right now, what we've been getting involved with is with you, Mr.
Okay.
Ross.
All right. We're going to take a couple calls real quick. Good evening. You're on the air. How are you?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
You have a comment?
You talking to me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my goodness. Woo, she done gave me a headache. Woo, good gracious of life.
Telling it how it is, ma'am.
She done gave me a headache.
All right. Do you have a comment?
Woo, that's my cup.
Okay. Do we have another call? Thank you for your call. We have another call. Hi. How are you? Good evening.
Hello?
Hi. Could you
Hi.
speak up, please? We can barely hear you.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. I'm calling just to say I really appreciate Miss. Oh,
Can you cut your
Hello?
TV down, please? Do you have your TV
Okay.
on? Yeah, turn it down. We have
Okay,
Dorati
can you
and
hear me
Tamika
now?
here.
okay, I really wanted to say I really appreciate the parent, Miss Tamika, who is a parent from Cass Tech. I'm also a parent and a Detroit school teacher who went through that same evaluation, who just luckily I knew a principal who, took me into her school. And the pressure for teachers right now is really unbearable. So not only do we need the citizens to back the teachers who got laid off, we all, teachers who are working and those who are not, we still have to stay together in a collective bargaining unit in order for us to get the rights so that we can continue to help the children and the students of Detroit. That's all I want to say, and I really appreciate that, parent. Thank you so much for everything you said.
And I would like to say I appreciate
That's the
her,
goal.
too.
That's the goal, is to disenfranchise everything in Detroit and union bust and break everything down so they can take over and have all this. We have another call real quick. Good evening. How are you? Are you on? You're on the air.
Hello?
Hi. We can hear
Yes,
you.
hello?
We can hear you.
Ladies, I commend
Yes.
you.
Thank
I commend you, ladies.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I am a grandmother. I live in Detroit. We have to work with our young mothers. I commend you all the way. May the Lord bless all the teachers and give you all strength, whatever I can do.
5 minutes.
Give our young mothers some morals and strength to teach our children.
Thank you very much. We have a lot of calls. You did this. Our phone lines are burning up. Good evening. You're on the air.
Gary,
Yes.
to you and your guests, I just want to thank all of you for all you're doing. My prayers go out to this whole city. We are under attack by
Yes.
demonic forces that want to tear down the future of our children, the future of our lives. And if we don't get up and fight for our life and our rights, then we might as well just lay down and dig graves for everybody. But
That's right.
we need to stop playing games
Yes.
on this phone. This is business.
Yes.
This is our lives, and this is the future of our children and anyone else that want to live the land of opportunity. We can't do it just playing games and laughing on the phone talking about I got a headache. Well, you're going to have more than a
That's
headache
right.
if you don't
Yes.
get up and fight for your life and your
Yes.
rights.
That's right.
Keep up the good work. My prayers is with you, and we're out there every day trying to encourage our people and educate them on what we have to do to organize and stay together and inform one another what fight we have to fight to make it right.
Thank you.
Thank
Keep
you.
up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody that knows me, I'm not about talk, and I say we got to organize on many different fronts, and I'm ready. I'm ready to lay down myself. So we have more calls? All right, let's take one more call, and we're going to close this out. Good evening. Are you there?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Barry, and hi to the teachers.
Hello.
Very impressed, Barry, with how you bring forth the important issues, and I want to say to the teachers to keep on. We're behind you. We just need to hear from you a lot more and be visible so that we can get behind you in whatever way you all want to fight. And I'm all for
Thank you.
that lottery
Yes.
Yes.
boycott.
Yes.
So just know that there's others out here who also agree with you. Thank you.
You want to
Thank
hear?
you.
Thank you. You want to hear an interesting fact, and I'm going to shut up about the lottery. If someone hits the big lotto here, and they don't get the cash option to get it all, they get interest on your money that's laying there over
Yes.
20 years,
Yes.
and they keep using that. So, and I'm a big supporter. I really believe that all these monies that are being paid out, that they're obviously not throwing them into the school. I mean,
But
what
out
are
of
they doing?
$147 million, that's how much are we getting back? And I need to know how much are we putting in.
Well, this
because I think it's
147,
disproportionate.
excuse me, this 147 million is not since the
Correct.
day it started. When you say 147 million,
It's
what
when
is
you
that
go-
figure?
When you go into the stores, they blast 147 million
Million.
lottery
Yep.
monies given to public schools.
In how long?
They don't
They
tell
don't
you
tell
all
you
of
that.
that.
It's all a
They don't
lie.
tell
All
you.
right,
Correct.
we gotta close this out because I
Yes.
have more guests, and I can't thank you enough. And this is just the beginning. I
Thank
want to
you.
set up a Facebook page or something to garner support, because talking about
Yes.
it isn't going to get people a place where they can go to organize. So we're going to set up and I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
And I knew
Thank
this
you.
lady was bad when I heard her at the school board, and I had to get her. So stay put for a minute. We're going to take a break, and we're going to be back with another great, I'm calling him Professor Gibson. We'll be right back after this break.
Hi, Mom. Where'd you get all this Narcotics Anonymous stuff from?
Mrs. Owens had Narcotics Anonymous come and talk to our class about meetings that can help people stop using drugs.
Narcotics Anonymous.
Yes, please. Can you help me?
Call Narcotics Anonymous. We can help you.
We are the faces of Detroit. We are the faces of Delray.
We are the faces of Delray. Governor Snyder wants to put us out of our homes by building a bridge in our front yard.
Homes where we raised our families.
A community where we buried our loved one.
Delray is struggling, but it's not lifeless. It's a community of hopes and dreams.
Governor Snyder.
Yes.
Not destroy.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special bulletin.
Did you know that there are over 100,000 abandoned homes within the city of Detroit? If you are tired of abandoned dangerous houses in your neighborhood, please support the Greater Detroit Restoration Project. Please make all checks and money orders payable to the Greater Detroit Restoration Project. The mailing address, 17301 Livernois, Suite 405, Detroit, Michigan 48221. All donations will help fund the expense of boarding up abandoned homes within the city of Detroit and Highland Park. For more information, contact Barry Ross at 248-417-9696 or Minister Malik Shabazz at 313-646-3375.
Hey, come on. Man, what is taking so long? Let's play.
Just getting a number.
Whose number?
Narcotics Anonymous.
Hey, if you need to talk.
No way, it's not for me, it's for my brother. He's constantly wasted. Come on, hoop time. Can you tell me about NA?
Call Narcotics Anonymous. We can help you.
Good evening. Welcome back to this show, Mixing It Up. And my name is Barry Ross. And you know what? I just turned 61 yesterday, and I just got a new breath of fresh air because I'm alive now. This city is in trouble. And we have to stop complaining and talking about it, and we got to start getting involved. Does anybody remember the bass voice of Paul Robeson? Now, I know there's people out there that really do not know, and there's a lot of people that know how this man could sing and wake you up. So there is in Detroit the Paul Robeson Malcolm X Academy. Now, I have a very sophisticated teacher from the school that was on my show a couple months ago, and I was disappointed with the interview because it was so poignant, it was so heavy that our young people need to recognize their ancestry and their culture in order to move out of this, I really want to say SHIT, I'm telling you. With what's going on, you must believe somewhere that you can be more than you think you are. Now, where are you going to get that from? What if in the house they're telling you you're no good, you're a loser, you'll never be nothing? You don't have it in the house. Your friends in the community aren't giving it to you. What if the school can teach you what we call today, what is new to me, is consciousness in culture? Victor Gibson, sitting next to me on my right, we need to get up a little, is here again, and this man, the schools now are making it much harder on the teachers. They don't have as much time. How many preps a day do you have now?
2.
2 preps instead of 1?
Instead of 4.
Instead of 4.
Instead of 4. And those 2 can be regulated by the principal according to what they think you should be doing.
However and whenever they want to do
yes.
it. Okay, so that makes it more taxing on you.
Extremely.
And you find yourself having to grade the papers.
Grade papers.
At times where probably you would have had other things to do.
Correct. We have to take our work home.
Okay, you have to take your work home. So you came here tonight as I'm honored. I have to say, we need you to get as close as you can. I want people to hear you. I want people to hear what you have to say. Several thousand years ago, African American culture, black culture, kings, queens, architects, brain surgery,
medicine,
philosophers. Tell everybody out there that's watching what maybe they might not know.
Well, what people seem to have forgotten is that as we look back in history, we understand that when we give people honor for the things that they have done, they tend to keep it with the Greeks. And we know the Greeks started 332 BC when their civilization started. But then at the same time, and I need to put this in perspective so people can really understand it, concepts that they're teaching in mathematics is the right angle concept. And that's given to a man named Pythagoras. That Pythagorean theory is supposed to be understood by just about every math student higher than 6th grade, which basically says right angles, a squared, b squared equals c squared. But then the point becomes, then if that's true, and we know that Greek civilization started in the 332 BC or in that area, then how come we have pyramids based on that very same concept of right angles that stood 3,000 years before the Greek lived in the house with windows or wore a shoe? But yet we seem to want to stop. And why is this? Because we understand that the whole pedagogy of European and European or Western domination in education is where they want to start from. And so these kind of concepts...
Why is that, Victor? Why do you think that is?
Well...
They want to control, they want to dominate. What do you think the reason is?
I think the overall goal is to kind of uplift themselves over every other cultural race on this planet.
Superior.
I mean, white supremacy or white dominance or just Eurocentric. And when we say white, we're not just talking about skin. We're talking about a concept.
Mentality.
We're talking about, we're talking about the idea of what you believe. I mean, they went from a place where they were believing that the world was actually flat. So now you go from being actually flat to understanding that there's a round hemisphere that we're on. And so to give credit to people who are involved or have evolved to a higher level before you even wrote your first book of folktale, which is the Iliad and the Odyssey, before you even began to read and write, before you even had an alphabet, excuse me, I have a cold. But one of the things that we're looking at is the idea that somehow or another we must change the position of power and change the dynamics in which people believe and perceive what are true and what are facts.
Myth. Let me ask you a question between me and you here. Why would I need to think? Forget you know me. Why do I need to think I'm better than you? Now, we're not talking about in football. We're not talking about in math. Overall, what would I gain to myself? How could we possibly think that one human being is more superior to another? What's the gain with that? What that goes back forever.
Yes, but what you're asking me to do is to give you a rational answer to madness, to chaos. That's the whole nature of what madness and chaos is. It's illogical to have that position.
Thank you.
Now, is it self-serving to tell a lie and to benefit from a lie? Yes, that goes for a lot of people. I mean, the police asked me if I ran the red light. I'm going to say, no, I didn't, even though he might have. But the whole concept of being able to try to explain something that doesn't have logic in the beginning. So to ask you why you would take that position, well, I can ask you. And the reasons you will give me, it'd be your reason. But would I accept it and believe that this is rational? No, I would leave that critical thinking to whoever hears and just basically say, well, okay, that's your thinking, let it go. We can't devolve mental health and mental sickness.
But maybe I'm crazy, and I'm just going to take a second. Thank you for saying that. But listen to this. I have an inferiority complex. So therefore, I'm going to, just like a bully. He's really, most people that are bullies, men and women, are cowards. Would we agree?
Yes.
Most people jump on someone else because they're really afraid, I think, more than just rage and anger. So I'm thinking lowly of myself, and now I'm going to do something to you to make myself feel elevated.
Yes, don't we do that all the time?
Yeah, okay.
I mean, that's just some, and that's not a concept that's rooted in just European thinking. I mean, we have African people who think on that same. It's a mental health issue.
But we have downplayed the intelligence of the black race for a long, long time. We have disseminated evidence. So, Mike, we have destroyed
in
evidence.
America.
In America.
Okay, let's make sure that we understand that.
Okay.
You can leave this country and go to travel in a lot of other places where that same racial sickness is not there. It is not something that is prevalent for all Eurocentric thinking. That is a uniquely American concept that's really pushing it. I mean, yes, other countries, Great Britain has a big brother cousin back in the day. They still have a part of that. Or any European nation that was allowed to cut up Africa according to what the Pope's wishes were. Because you got to remember the Catholic Church sanctioned the cutting up and the dissection of Africa. Why? Because in Europe, if you look at the geographics, they have a very short growing season. So they have to feed a lot of people in Europe. But with that growing season being so short, they didn't have the food. So what do? You go shopping. Now, where's the biggest supermarket? What continent has the biggest supermarket chain and variety? Where's the Kmart, Walmart of the continents? And that's Africa. So when you go there, there's nothing in Africa you don't want. And so one of the ideas is you want to go to Africa, you want to shop, but you don't want to pay for nothing. You just want to be able just to take it. So if you look at it in that sense, they're basically shoplifters.
Okay, you teach. What exactly do you teach?
I teach social studies now, 7th and 8th grade social studies, but I just left teaching 1st and 2nd grade self-contained. So I can go from the babies to 8th grade, 7th grade, almost seamlessly if I have the material.
Now, since you're in, I would assume it's an African-American school.
Yes.
So you're teaching African studies, correct?
Yes.
You have leeway to teach every aspect of black studies, what have you?
We had it.
You had it.
This new takeover, and that's what people seem, and that's
God.
that's the thing I want people to really understand. We had the ability to do that, and people think the takeover was strictly about money and their ability. They saw Detroit public schools going African-centered from K to 12. We were going to raise our babies in their right minds from the moment they came preschool all the way to 12th grade, so that when they left us, they will leave us with the consciousness of saying that once I go and get my education, get my strengthening, I will come back to my community. But right now, you have our cream of the crop leaving our communities and never coming back. And so when that happens, we lose. So we're not building the community from within as most cultures do. The Hispanic community, you go down to Southwest Detroit, you go down
I'm there all the
and
time.
you will see that even if they don't have the academics or the economics,
They have a sense of community
they
working
have a
together. not
sense
to
of
interrupt you.
community that will be there. They're fratricide, that brother killing that we see that you were just talking about.
Fratricide.
Yeah, fratricide. It's killing one another.
Yes, we have a call. Can we take the call?
Yeah,
Let's take a call. Good evening. You're on the air with Victor Gibson. How are you?
How you doing?
Could you speak up, please?
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing
You have a
good.
question for our guest?
Yes.
Okay. Could you?
I want to know if I can get like a prayer.
A what?
Did you say a friend?
A prayer.
Could you spell that? Huh?
Say it again. We're not hearing
We're
you.
not.
clearly.
You're not coming across clearly with the word you're asking.
I asked for a prayer.
Could you spell that word? We can't hear it.
In relationship to what? Caller. I mean, help us out because we're just not hearing you clearly. That's all.
I just want a prayer.
Okay.
We have another call. Okay. I'm sorry.
No.
So, are you telling me that you are relegated or governed to teach specifics now?
We have a new core common standard which says that the same 7th grade material and lessons that I'm teaching in urban Detroit is the same that's going to be taught in Utah, is the same that's going to be taught in Louisiana, same that's going to be taught across, so that every 7th grader in the United States will be learning the exact
So
same thing.
consciousness is up.
Yes, because
So-
if you realize, I need to make this point too.
Jesus Christ.
In Texas, the GOP in Texas wrote in their whole platform, and they let it slip out. You can check Leonard, the writer Leonard, his column, and they specifically said we're going to take out
Leonard Fleming from the news?
Jeffries.
Okay, sorry. Thank
And
you.
he's saying, and they said that they want to take out critical thinking out of the teaching, period.
In general?
In
you
general,
can't take out critical thinking.
They're basically saying that if you want to believe that Santa Claus still lives on the moon, if you want to teach or believe, or you have people believe that rabbits lay eggs, if you want to hold on to that, that's fine. Now they got caught up in it because it got published before they actually did. They went over there and do the proofreading and saw that little platform issue was still there. And their only response is, we didn't want you to see it. Not that it was erroneous, it was missed, it wasn't supposed to be in there, that we weren't supposed to see it. And that's even more scary. And these are GOP in Texas. And they still doing ugly things in Texas.
Bulk of your attendance of students that goes to the Paul Robeson Malcolm X Academy are I would presume are they all African American?
Yes. We only had
Okay.
one, in the history of the 23 years I've been at Malcolm X, we've only had one Euro-American student.
All right, so they're not getting the facts of their ancestry and culture the way it really needs to be taught.
The way
Am I
it needs
correct?
to be done, yes. Because
That's unacceptable.
You can see it in what we do in our neighborhoods. I've been to Africa. I've seen women get off a tour bus in the middle of nowhere and had no fear. I've seen brothers argue without the idea that one's gonna pull out a
That's right.
machete and cut the other one to pieces. I've seen store owners close their stores. Just close them. That's all. They didn't put the bars and set the alarms and put the dogs out because they had a cultural sense that there was some right and there was some wrong. And everybody shared that commonness. We here in America, sadly to say, our communities, you can be a Republican and be Afro-American, you can be a Democrat, you can be an atheist, but we have no common cultural core. So that when trouble hits us, somebody might bring a match, somebody might be a gun, somebody might bring some water. We don't know how we're going to address the solution.
No boundaries.
The sister that was speaking about being laid off, the question is simple. If we get rid of the EM law, we can go back to doing what we need to do. But we are scared as a people to even mention our culture. We are scared to even bring it up to anyone. And that little fear is keeping our children from recognizing that your parents have power. They may not have money, but they have power.
Tell them their power.
Their power is their ability to love and to bring a sense of order to a very chaotic sense of the world that we live in here in America. We preach, as a social studies teachers, the core democratic values. We understand life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, but is that the same justice system that applies for the African Americans in Detroit as it do even for you, Barry?
There is no justice.
Okay, so we understand what it is, and we understand what they're doing to us, but we keep dancing their game.
And I know I'm not black, but not everybody that's African American does understand.
Yes.
And a lot of people are denying the truth.
And it's
That is
easy.
not- you know this
Yes,
is true.
because it's fit
More
in.
people need to know the truth.
But they won't let us. They won't let us impact our children in such a way where if they don't have, it's okay. Right now in Chicago, I just read a thing in Chicago where CBS News had some gangbangers come on TV, and they sit there and let those gangbangers put their spill out there, Barry. And those gangbangers are saying, "Hey, we in to kill it. We gonna steal it. We gonna rob it." Sure. And so the response. You talking about a phone like nothing. The response was, let's turn Detroit and Chicago into that movie like Locking Up New York. Let's just build a wall around it. Well, that's just those AK-47s with some truckload of ammunition. This is what they literally said. Into the black community and let them kill each other off. In fact, put a neutron bomb in there so that way you don't destroy the infrastructure. You just destroy the people.
Well, it's on its way now
and then
anyway.
have the garbage truck come and pick up the garbage. These are the kind of things that I can't even call his name. If Ferguson or someone that ran that host, like yourself, he looked almost like you, Barry, but you look a little better than he does. But he set that up to be presented, and so now we keeping up racial madness.
But it appears
is also taught.
It appears that it's racial, but it's the upper class corporate structure that is just disseminating everything, eliminating the middle class, and wants to pit us all again. But now white bread America, middle America, white bread America is getting affected.
Oh,
too.
yes. Just
Getting
like
affected, losing their homes, not getting jobs.
We catch a cold, you all catch the flu.
It's obviously part racism, classism, and
But if
control.
And let's get it back to what it really is. It's humanism. We need to be humans. We're all humans. But as long as they can play, that Willie Lynch mentality is also affecting you. Because as long as you all can hate me for something you don't know and I can hate you for something I think you did, you're not the ones that imprisoned me, Barry. You wasn't on that ship. The good ship Jesus, I don't think you were the captain of that ship. And I also wasn't the one chained into that boat. We have
My
healed.
Jews imprisoned blacks too and killed them too.
We as African Americans, we have healed from those days. Now let us learn.
No,
Let us
haven't
go
healed.
back.
Have not healed.
We've
Have not
Barry,
healed. We're
Barry,
still killing.
Barry, you contradicted me. And now you gotta hear what I mean. We have healed from the madness of the physicalness of what enslavement has done to our people. Now we have to heal the mental aspect of us. And the only way you're going to heal the mental aspect of us is to giving us back in our right minds. Understand, whether it was the Republican England who started to take over, whether it was the Democrat of Jennifer Granholm who gave us the first emergency manager, either one of those. So it's whether you're going to be kicked by a mule or stepped on by an elephant when it comes to America. These are parlor tricks. And we keep playing these parlor tricks. Like the sister said, we have to be able to be the ones that rally up, call our people together, and let's get this thing moving. I just come from Chicago. I mean, from Washington, D.C. for the Freedom Education, Freedom Rise. And the same person you were talking about, Peter Cunningham, who was the understudy after Duncan, sit there and smile like a Cheshire cat But I said, I know why you're smiling. He says, why? Because I know you as a federal government, you know you can't do nothing about education because that's the domain of the state. And so you're sitting back hearing us at this long table, brothers from Chicago, New Orleans, and Kansas City. We were all in it.
Can we take a call and then go? Yeah. We got a call. I'm sure it's for you. Good evening. You're on the air with Victor Gibson. How are you?
Okay, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. We got a hot minute.
Okay, well, yes, okay, yes, okay, I just wanted to say, really, far as, I agree with everything you said, first, but the only thing I have a question is about the, African, have you ever heard of Scipio Africanus?
No, enlighten me quickly. I'm just
the continent of Africa.
Yes, no, Scipio Africanus. And see what I'm saying is when we talk about Scipio.
Okay.
You have your TV on?
Yeah, I think so.
Could you turn it down? And we only got about 30 seconds
Okay.
left. Are you asking a question other than?
Yeah, well, yes, because okay, everything else I agree with, but as far as us as a people, what we're talking about, we calling ourselves Africans, and really it was a guy named Scipio Africanus, which is a Roman general, who conquered the land and put the land on the people in his name.
Okay.
So, I mean, when you go back further than that, then you will see that the actual people are Israel. You know what I mean? See, and that's the thing. I agree with everything else that you say, as far as about that, but when you have a, it's still the same thing when you deal with a Roman who conquered
Hey, sir, not to cut you off. Can you hear me? Can you call back on another show because we got to close.
Yeah, I
this.
sure can.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
But real quickly, the reason why we use the name Africa is because the Romans had a province in Egypt called Afrique. And so as the name evolved from the Roman province, pretty soon the whole continent took on the name of Africa. So it is a white indigenous, Italian, Roman, Italian kind of name. So we're just holding on to the name because that gives people a point of reference. Like John Henry Clark, I'm trying to maintain some kind of geographical and historical reference when I speak so people can either call me back and discuss it or relate it. But that's the only reason I'm using the word Africa.
For reference.
Yeah, just for a reference point. We call it Kemet and we call it Nubia, and we know who the civilizations were.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. We're going to be right back with Minister Victor Muhammad and his special guest. So stay tuned. You call us 313-868-0351, 0342. Victor can take calls if he wants. Okay, we'll be right back.
Thank you, Barry.
Hello, I'm Christina the Glam Tech, owner and operator of Studio Glamour Salon. We're located in East Point, and we're here to make you glamorous. We specialize in big glamorous hair, vintage hairstyles. We specialize in special occasion hair, color, cuts, hair care, and all phases of glamour. Give me a call at 586-872-2272. We are located at 22109 Gratiot between 8 and 9 Mile. And glam up your life. For first-time client, we are offering a $10 off coupon. Just mention the commercial when you book your appointment.
Welcome to Metro Foodland, where you will always find courteous service. Our hardworking staff always gives their all to maintain our dairy fresh and wholesome products, cold cuts, premium meats, and of course, we have some of the freshest produce around. Check out our deli and bistro. We also carry specialty items such as Tanisha Noni, Water Station alkaline water, and much, much more. If we don't have it, just ask, and we'll do our best to get it. Remember to ask how to join our Healthy Rewards Club. Seniors and ladies, always ask for an escort to your vehicle. We'll see you soon at Detroit's own community grocer, Metro Foodland, located at 18551 Grand River. That's 18551 Grand River, near Finkel and the Southfield Freeway. Remember, That's Metro Foodland.
Tuesdays, 9 p.m. on TV 33. Join me, Barry Ross, on Mixing It Up. We'll feature informative community organizations that will offer solutions to Wayne County residents in reference to employment, safety, and security within neighborhoods, job training, education, and mentoring programs. Remember, Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Join me, Barry Ross, Mixing It Up on TV 33.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Brother Victor Muhammad with the Nation of Islam, Director of Prison Reform Ministry and Teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad under the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and under the local jurisdiction of Minister Rasul Muhammad, son of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It's been a beautiful, beautiful show today, and I want to close it out strong, and I want to bring forth, I've got a special guest today, but I want to set the premise for the reason why this brother is here today. I want all of us young people to think back to 1967. Lyndon Johnson was the president. Average cost of a home was $14,250. Average income was $7,300. Average rent, $125. Average car, $2,700. A movie ticket was $125, and minimum wage was $1.40. A cost of a 23-inch brand new color television was $489, and it weighed 145 pounds. Motown was still at the top of their music game. Love Is Here, Now You're Gone by the Supremes. Jimmy Mack, Martha and the Vandellas. I know, Brother Malik, you don't remember this. You're too young to remember this.
Jimmy Mack.
I Was Made to Love Her, Stevie Wonder. Ain't No Mountain High Enough, Marvin Gaye, Tammy Terrell. Other events that happened in '67, interracial marriage was declared constitutional by the Supreme Court. And it was Loving versus Virginia that barred states from making interracial marriage illegal. The first Super Bowl, Green Bay versus Kansas City, 35-10 victory. Thurgood Marshall was the first black justice on the Supreme Court. And we've still been looking for a black justice ever since. Muhammad Ali was stripped of his heavyweight title for refusing induction into the U.S. Army. And the most memorable event of '67 was the Detroit riots. Everyone knows those are historical events of '67. Why am I going through this? Because the young man that I have next to me, this young man served 43 years, 2 months, 18 days in the Michigan Department of Corrections, and he went into prison in 1967 and was released March the 3rd, 2011. My guest is LaSalle X. Washington. Thank you, Brother LaSalle, for coming on.
Thank you, Brother Victor, for inviting me.
We calculated for the time that our brother served at today's minimum wage, he would have made $2,838,780,000 working for minimum wage for the time that he served. As Director of Prison Reform Ministry, we have to always look to these things. All the previous guests on tonight, we dealt with education. And we've got to know why they're after education. Because one of the leading indicators, whether you end up in prison or not, is whether you get an education. Then our brother Victor, brought us into proper education. Then the miseducation that will lead us in ignorance also. See, the prison industrial complex runs on the fuel of ignorance. So we have to understand that a brother like this can serve 43 years, and look how charming our brother looks. But he's an exception to the rule, because we're going to go through his story. And the thing is we know that recidivism is at 75%. Wow. This man, in 43 years, what did he not learn after the 10th year, the 20th year, the 30th year, going before the parole board year in and year out for them to tell him, we haven't rehabilitated you yet. But this is a man of faith. This is a man of substance, because he kept his faith that he knew one day he would get out of prison. So my guest, Brother LaSalle.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. When were you arrested, dear brother?
In 1967.
Tell me like the landscape of the prison system in 1967?
When I went to the prison, 1967, at that time there were 3 functional prisons. Michigan Reformatory for the gladiators was usually from 17 to 23. Michigan State Prison, which was at that time the world's largest prison. In fact, the Reformatory was the prison with the largest cell block at that time. And you had one more, which is Marquette Prison up in the UP in upper Michigan. And that was for the most dangerous prisoners, or at least those who had recent mess-ups in the prison system. They were sent up north. Okay. So Marquette, Jackson, and the Michigan Reformatory. Now, you did have MTU, but it wasn't quite functional at that time.
Okay, what's the maximum amount of prisons that were in the state of Michigan?
Well, it got to a number between 46 and 49 major prisons, because you had some like the Tombs who were open for maybe 8 years and then closed, and others like that. So, but at one point, it was between 46 and 49 large prisons in the state of Michigan.
See, I came into prison reform ministry when there was 46. There's currently 34. 34 prisons. They've combined them. They closed some down, and but the prison population, what their claim to fame is that they're lowering the prison population, but they're benefiting by making the former incarcerated wear a tether that they've got to pay for, $100 and something a week, so that they make millions and millions of dollars for a brother to wear a tether. When did you come into the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
I actually came in 1968.
Okay.
I was pursuing, I knew I had to get an education, because when I came to prison in 67, which was for murder, I knew I was going to do a substantial amount of time.
Okay, what was the highest level of grade that you had completed prior to your incarceration?
The 9th grade, and that was in 2 schools. I got kicked out of Tappan, sent to McKenzie, got kicked out of McKenzie.
Okay.
I was kind of like a bad apple, I guess.
Okay. But now, how many degrees do you have?
Oh, well, I have 3 associates, one in business, one in arts, one in paralegalism. I got 2 bachelors, and I'm almost completing my master's.
Okay, that's beautiful. H&R Block gave you a grant. What did they give you a grant for? And tell us the year.
Yeah, they gave me a grant in 1969 of $6,000 resource grant to teach taxation, because when I first entered the prison, knowing I didn't have an education, I immediately got on my GED. Then I started taking courses through the mail, and they were a basic tax course. I got straight A's. They were an advanced tax course, got straight A's, and then I took a technical education course. And in return, H&R Block came to the school and said that if I was allowed to teach, that they would donate $6,000 worth of resource, which is over here, projectors and all the tax forms, and the same tax courses that they teach in the street. They would give a lot of them to the prisoners, actually hundreds of them, and so I can teach taxes, and I did.
Okay, before we applaud H&R Block for their insight of you doing taxes for them, how much were you getting paid a day at that time?
Well, at that time, for a whole day's work, it was between 25 cents and 50 cents.
Okay, so there's no sense in saying, oh, good old H&R Block, we pay him, we're going to charge you the full.
H&R Block didn't pay me anything to teach the courses. I'd done that voluntarily. I'm talking about since I was part of the school system at that time, that's what they paid me. H&R Block didn't pay. I did that voluntarily.
But that's what I was saying, the state of Michigan.
Right.
Trust me, the state of Michigan didn't go empty-handed. And they don't go empty-handed today. They have government contracts, they have private contracts in which they pay our brothers a low amount of raise. They pay them 30 cents an hour, $1.20, $2 a day, but they still charge regular market fees when they do contracts with Walmart, with Target and with Dell Computers. Brothers are fixing computers behind the wall at $2, $3 a day, but they're still getting charged. Dell is still getting charged $150 an hour.
That's correct.
You know, okay. The other thing, okay, upon your release, because that was in 1967. What were you making upon your release?
Still in prison. At the time I got released, making $325, $350.
And that was this time. Actually, this was last year.
While I was in prison last year.
Yeah, yeah. So $3, and that's what our brothers and sisters are making on the daily. And we already know that the laws of the land state that the only time you can truly be a slave now, wink, wink, is when you're incarcerated. But if you're a convicted felon, you can still be a victim of slavery. So all of the challenges that you faced over 43 years, how did you deal with all of that?
Well, you know, as soon as I got the MR and was doing this academic stuff, I joined with some brothers, and we started the Nation of Islam, which I had to write Lansing, which is the headquarters and for the Department of Corrections.
What year was that?
That was in '69.
1969.
Yes, and I got permission. I wrote the letter and got permission to hold services. Within a few months, I became minister, and at the Michigan Reformatorium, which I had almost a little over 100 brothers that were in the nation, because at that time only black groups there were the Nation of Islam and the Black Panther Party.
Okay, yes, sir. Okay, and we know we have a Panther in the house today. So we have the beginning of a very powerful group that our children don't know about. Right. We heard our brother talk about how they have been given a curriculum of learning that takes away our curriculum, which is the roots of the tree. So the tree will never survive without its roots. So if I don't know who the Black Panther Party is, I don't know who the Nation of Islam, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and even today, they don't know who the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is. So these are the things that they are depriving our children, because they know that they can no longer use our children as a tool and a slave if they know who they are. And they are above that. When they keep wanting to show you with the AK-47s, and our brother was speaking of having the gangbangers and giving them a platform to speak on the gang activity of Chicago. I'm originally from Chicago. But when the minister, who has been out for the last 16 weeks, walking the community of Chicago, those same gangbangers are smiling and acting like little babies in his presence, crying tears, these hardcore gun toters, when they come in contact with the man of God. And the thing is when they know that they find out who they are, we no longer have to worry about them being AK-47 toters. And we know that when a man like this man gets the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they come out of prison reformed. Because we know that they don't reform. They call them correctional facilities and not correcting any behavior whatsoever. And when a brother accepts the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he is above crime. He is above pettiness. He's above selling himself short and being used by the enemies of our rise. So our brother accepted those teachings, and I can bear witness to this. In the years that I've been the prison reform minister, wherever he was at, he carried the teachings of the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad with him, and he always was at the forefront. And I'm going to tell you this, there was never a doubt in his mind he wasn't coming home.
Correct.
There wasn't a doubt. He used to send donations home every month. A donation to the mosque, giving his charity, letting it be known he planned on coming home. That's not an incarcerated mind. That's not someone who's been institutionalized. He knows that through the faith of God that those bars was not strong enough to hold him. So he knew he had to work his way through that challenge and whatever God put on his plate to go through. And that is what it does. And that's when you see a man like this who comes out of prison and gets employment, lives on his own. He's got a big computer over there. He works out on a computer, on the internet, because he never allowed his mind to be incarcerated. So the challenges you faced of incarceration, once you started getting education, explain that to our audience, what the guards and the COs used to do when you got educated.
Okay. First, being in the Nation of Islam kind of made me a target, because a lot of Caucasian at that time, speaking of guards, their racism wasn't so latent, it was more manifest. And but that didn't bother me because I knew who they were and they knew who I was. And in terms of what I had to counter, well, the prison experience is just that, an experience. So I'm seeing everything from rapes to robberies to assaults, all this jumping off in the prison system. Some of it I was able to stop, and just my influence. And then because I've always been in the nation, and we've been quite strong in many of the prisons, usually if I enter a picture, it usually resolves it.
And at that time, you used to be able to get college credits, right?
Yes, and it's just the thing. Here we go into college, and a lot of the prisoners now are becoming, and were becoming much more intelligent than their keepers. So, and the guards complain about this because when they started writing tickets, and none of the tickets were sticking, because the prisoners were intelligent enough and had enough education to see that these guys can't even write. So they were beating all of these tickets because they were developing this college. They were developing a deeper insight into the world, deeper insight into things that we never considered. I'm a high school dropout out of the system. And once I got into education and Nation of Islam, learning who I am, studying the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I became very powerful. I became very firm in my belief that I would get out one day, and I did.
Listen to this. You said you was a high school dropout of this world's education.
That's correct.
And we know that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad only completed the 3rd grade of this world's education.
Correct.
So that kind of speaks for itself as it turns to who Master Farad Muhammad was when he came here to these streets of Detroit and taught the teachings of the most honorable to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And also, in that ability to defend your tickets and outsmart them, it's just like any educational system. I can't control that which I'm not smarter than.
Yeah, that's right. And you got to realize the guards at that time, the requirement was that they have a 6th grade education.
Wow.
That's all they needed to get the job. So a lot of these guys were functionally illiterate. So, it wasn't real hard to not talking about them, but this is a reality.
Yeah. And then the other part of that is simply this. They also knew that when you got college degrees and certifications, you had 85% of the people who got those certifications never returned to prison.
No, I mean, look, I just ran across some of them, and most of them got advanced degrees. I mean, master degrees. Ponderosa Johnson got a doctorate. I mean, I can go on.
I saw yours. I saw you were accepted into a doctorate program.
Right. And it's just, and those guys never came back.
And then by eliminating those programs, they knew that they can increase recidivism to 75%, and they would always be able to use the yo-yo and letting the brothers get out and then letting them come back in to continue a violation. And then they came with the 3 strikes law behind that, knowing that if you returned again, we'd call you habitual.
The complaint was by the guards that the prisoners had more education than they were, and they were getting a free education, and the education they had to get their families, they had to pay for. But they didn't realize by educating the prisoner, that prisoner wasn't coming back. That prisoner wasn't breaking in nobody's house. He wasn't shooting nobody, which has his own economic consequence for those type of activities. So he was actually saving money in the end and not losing money.
Okay, and you couple that with the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
That's correct.
And you guarantee that. In closing, dear family, and I appreciate you, dear brother.
Thank you.
What advice would you give our returning brothers and sisters? Because recidivism rate is 75%. You've come home, you hit the ground running, you're handling your business. What advice would you give to our returning brothers and sisters on what they should do before they come home, after they get home, and how they stay home?
Prepare yourself. Prepare yourself for release. You got to come out here to get a job. If you're doing something, if it's something you like, I mean, of course, you can't have courses in locksmithing or repair, nothing like that in prison. But other things
you'd love to.
Yeah, other things that you like. Have your parents send you books in that, or order books yourself. Begin to study. That's what I did with taxes. Now I can work for anybody, and right. And I do. I don't mention who I work for now because, I'm on this program. But if you prepare, and I ask the parents or the loved ones, look, if you got somebody in prison, find out what they like. And then start sending them a book in that. Take a little basic book, go advanced after that, and continue so that they can get the training. So when they come out, they can take advanced tests, accelerated credit tests at colleges and whatnot, and they can get a good job, be able to make a good living, or create their own. Give them some books that will make them want to create their own job.
Now they're home. What do they do once they get home?
Now, once they do home, first thing you do is to try to get resources immediately, get into programs that provide resources for returning prisoners. That's what I did.
Okay. Well, we thank you, family, for...
And Raphael Johnson had one in downtown that allowed me to do a lot of things to help me get back. Work first, that's right.
Okay. Thank you, dear family, for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Good job. Days, 9 p.m. on TV 33. Join me, Barry Ross, on Mixing It Up. We'll feature informative community organizations that will offer solutions to Wayne County residents in reference to employment, safety, and security within neighborhoods, job training, education, and mentoring programs. Remember, Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Join me, Barry Ross, Mixing It Up on TV 33.